Over 20 years sounds
okay,
good.
let's try it. Sorry about that, John.
7-year-old friend over there.
Okay, let's try this again, John. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. You're watching In Deep on the Delta. We're not on the Delta, obviously. We're up at New Melones Reservoir. I'm with my friend John Liechty. John is an elder statesman up here. He's been guiding for 13 years.
This is my 13th year as a guide.
Experienced fishing guide service.
Yep, on New Melones.
You've grown up here. You've guided for 13 years.
I love this lake. It's a passion, and
yeah,
I just do it.
Yeah, you've been passionate about it for as long as I've known you. And I'll tell you, when a guy's been up on one lake for that long, there's reasons for it, and the reason that John is still up here and he's a survivor because he is very good on this lake. And I'm going to ask John today to talk about some of the baits that he uses, and we're going to go from big to small. John, you are known as a big bait guy, but I'm telling you what, if you come up here and fish with John, have him fish some big baits with you, but make sure you do some finesse fishing, because I really think that's where, when I fished with you, I've learned so much.
Okay. And you can see it right over here. See, there's another 3 or 4 patches.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
It's going down. So let's start off, and you want to talk about big baits. When do you fish these things? When do you start fishing them? And tell us a little bit about your favorite big baits to start.
Yeah, and to add to what you said is you have to be versatile. The big baits are great, but there's times when they're not going to bite them. And if you're not just a swim bait advocate and you can go out there and not catch a fish, because that's what it is a lot of times when you're swim bait fishing, then we do have the smaller baits as an option, and you have to be good at both big baits and small baits. We got big glide baits. That's one of our favorites to throw if you're into throwing glide baits.
What one is this?
That is a Bait Sanity.
Okay.
The big Chimera shad.
And this is what, a 10-inch bait?
Yeah.
Oh,
and that's going to draw some fish in, and it's going to get some good bites.
Yeah. And when we're talking about throwing these things, John doesn't consider a big fish. Great fish are 4, 5, 6, 7 pounds. You had a double digit a few weeks ago. I know you posted.
Yeah, just before Christmas.
Just before Christmas. Yeah. A friend of mine was up with you. You got an 8-pound fish on an 8-pound spot.
Yep, I was on the boat.
You've got a 17-pounder out of here, 15 pounds. You had a 14-pound last year.
Yes. Big
fish on these things. And before we get into it, can you talk about also when you like a bait like this, what are you throwing it on? How the rods, the reels, the setup that you throw this on?
Yeah, I throw all my stuff on an extra heavy rod and 20-pound fluorocarbon. I usually favor a reel that isn't a real high gear ratio, because like a 6.4 or even like a 5. Something that's not too fast, so you can get a really good rhythm and a good feel of the bait without overworking the bait.
And just another generalities on this. I know there's trout up here, and this looks exactly like a rainbow trout. There's kokanee, there's bluegill. Is there a certain color or certain color that you go with?
Yeah, match the hatch is always a good concept to go with at first. Fishing a rainbow trout when they're eating rainbow trout, but sometimes some of the bold colors in stained water, or kind of like a bone or a bread color when you're fishing in low light, or bluegill when they start eating bluegill. So there's some variations, but day in and day out, once they start eating trout, it's a good idea to fish with something that looks like a trout.
So this is one of your favorites?
Yeah, that's a big one. If you favor something a little smaller, because this thing can be kind of a workout to fish with all day long, you can still get some really good fish on a bait of that size. And it fishes, it's a glide bait, and it fishes a little more erratic, still very smooth retrieve.
Which one is this?
That's the Bait Sanity Antidote.
Antidote,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Pretty popular bait.
It's a good bait, yeah. It's very popular. And these bait, there's a time for a glide and there's a time for soft bait. And we just kind of see what the fish want and then pick which bait we need to be throwing.
Now, are you fishing both of these on the same rod?
Yeah. Oh no, this one's going to be thrown on just a, you could pretty much throw that on a medium heavy or a heavy, just like a jig rod.
And I have to ask you, somebody comes up here, they say, I want to fish big baits, I want to learn how to fish big baits. I know these baits are very expensive. They can run anywhere from $50 to $150.
Yes.
Do you provide the baits, or do they have to bring their own baits?
I do provide the baits to a certain extent, yeah.
Okay, I understand.
You get a couple of them. I do recommend, if you are a swim bait fisherman, to bring the baits that you have. Yeah.
But you're going to want somebody to catch fish.
I want someone to catch fish. And I have a lot of baits that we can throw, and we always have a good time. And don't, fingers crossed or knock on wood, we don't lose too many of them.
Yeah. What else you got over there?
Sometimes when the lake's a little more flat, they'll veer away from this style of bait. And then sometimes when it's a little choppier, they'll favor that bait. Sometimes they always just want something that's soft and, you know, sneaking through the water. That's the hog hunter.
The hog hunter. It almost looks like the old Huddleston.
Yep. Well, that's what's up next. These are the two. You can show them at the same
right.
time. That's just kind of the 1-2 punch.
Hog hunter, Huddleston. What's the difference between the? I know there's a little.
Just length and tail action.
And when it comes to swim baits, guys, you can see different riggings that John has up here. Some of these, you know, are just years of experience knowing what size of hooks, where to put them, how to put them on there, to make sure that you have good hookup rate, to make sure that the bait is running properly.
Yeah.
And it's hard in a short video like this to explain everything, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, just to break it down real simple is you could get away with a jig hook if we were only fishing for largemouth, but there's big spots and they tend to grab other parts of the bait except the head.
Yeah,
if you were throwing at big largemouth, you could have a jig hook or just the head hook, and you're going to catch most of the fish. But when you get these spots out here, they get real nippy and grabby, and you have to kind of really put your hooks where you want them.
And I think there's been several occasions where Melones held the state record spot over 10 pounds.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, back in, what was it, 2013 or 14, somewhere around that time, in a tournament, a 10.48 was caught, and it held up for almost a year, and then a bigger one was caught elsewhere.
So there are big spots in here, and I'll tell you, if you want to come up here, I highly recommend John to come up and just say we're going to spend a day fishing the big glide baits and just big baits, and you'll learn probably in 8 hours of fishing what it may take you several years to learn.
And that's the key. When I do big bait trips, is I go into it as a learning experience. We do catch big fish. I have clients catching big fish all the time, but it's not something that we go on the water expecting to catch a giant fish. There's days when we catch 5 or 6, and there's days when we just see a few and get a couple bites. But that's the name of the game.
This is not only a great big bait fishery, but it is a great finesse fishery. That's what we did today. Talk about some of your favorite finesse baits out here.
Yeah, and one of the things with fishing finesse, it doesn't mean that you're automatically fishing for smaller fish. If you're fishing around big fish, you have a chance of catching big fish. And that's one of the things I do with finesse, is I'll go fish the same areas or areas I know that there's big fish that would eat a swim bait, and I'll go show them something a little sneakier, some light line, and we get big fish, and we get a lot of fish, and we have a lot of fun throwing finesse baits.
I want to ask you a question that I already know the answer to, but I'm sure you're going to be real happy to answer this question for me. You ever caught a big fish on like some type of worm or something, you know, some type of light line technique?
Yes. Actually, my 2 biggest fish ever on this lake were on light line. I had a 17.4 on a Cinco on 8-pound line, and a 15.2 on a drop shot on 4-pound line.
I know that. And that's why I asked you, because
it was a good
do you ever
setup.
get tired of telling people that?
I mean, those are 2 incredible catches, and you know, it's just fishing around big fish. It just solidifies what I just said. If you're fishing around them, like, you have a chance
Yeah.
of catching them.
And I know you don't brag about that a lot. If it was me and I caught a 17-pound fish, the first thing I'd be doing is shaking your
Yes,
head and
hey.
telling you, I caught a 17
Yeah,
pounder.
you know I'm Mr. 17 pounder, right?
With that, let's talk about some of these finesse baits that you have.
Well, on that note, we'll start with the tried and true. And
Oh, yeah.
that is bread and butter. There's no secret that catches fish.
The Nico.
The Nico, you can fish it with a weight or without a weight. I have it rigged with a weight right now at this time of year.
Okay.
Because you kind of want to get down there a little quicker. Pull the weight out once we get into springtime.
Okay, and I have a couple questions for
Sure.
you. Number one, what I learned today was we were fishing, boy, here on this lake, it's really important to, if you're not getting bit, go lighter. And fluorocarbon was definitely outproducing mono. Do you always fish these on fluoro?
Yes.
Okay, that's number one.
I fish everything subsurface on fluoro.
Okay.
Jigs, jerk baits.
And generally you're fishing around 8 pound. If you got to go lighter, you go down to 6 maybe?
Yes.
What? And again, I remember you telling me this. Did you get one of those big fish on 4 pound?
It was on 4 pound.
That
yes.
was the 15 pounder?
That was the 15 pounder.
So dropping down to get the bites, you got the bigger fish.
I was not anticipating catching a fish of that size.
Right.
We were on some real pressured fish that a lot of people were fishing for. And as you move down in size, you could catch those 1.5 to 3.5 pound fish.
So you weren't expecting a 15 pounder?
No one ever does, and no one ever should.
That was a joke.
I know.
Okay, the other thing, do you always fish this with weed guard? Or does that matter?
No, that's just a hook
Okay,
I
'cause
grab.
we got a lot of rock.
And a lot of times I'll put a rubber band on it. That's just kind of
Okay.
old school going through the bait. If I start
Yeah.
really tearing up some baits,
Okay.
I'm definitely
So
a
do
rubber
you ever
band
use
guy.
like the, you do use bands on them?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because
so
you'll
yeah.
just rip through baits like that.
Yeah, okay.
But it does have a kind of a nice look, the old school.
Right,
just
yeah, I think you
original
get
look.
more bites like that.
I like it.
Yeah, but okay, that's your common Cinco, and you're just using green pumpkins, you're using, what's your favorite colors? Give me 3 of them.
Yeah, green pumpkin watermelon, like a 912 with the laminate.
Okay.
That's copper purple
All right.
flake. It's really good. And then I usually almost always have some sort of shad pattern.
Right.
Just because when they start eating shad and you got a shad Cinco, you're going to catch a lot of fish.
Okay, what else you got over there?
The next thing, this is bread and butter on this lake. It's a 3/16 ounce shaky head.
Okay. And same, this is the green pumpkin, and I know from past experiences, I didn't think there was a big deal throwing a shaky head.
This is a watermelon candy.
Watermelon candy,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't notice, thinking he's catching with the shaky head, I can throw a drop shot. Boy, there was a huge difference because, I got rid of my drop shot after about an hour and a half of watching you catch fish on a shaky. And he said today they're taking a shaky head, tomorrow they may take a drop shot, but there is a difference. So, I mean, keep talking about that.
Yeah, there's a huge difference, and look, fortunately we have multiple lines in the water multiple days in a row, so we can really kind of narrow down what specific thing they're looking for. A lot of times they really want it pinned to the bottom, just grinding rocks, blowing silt off rocks. That's where a shaky head and some of the other jig head options come into play. Other times the fish are a little up off the bottom and a drop shot's a better option.
Same worm, just fishing it a little different.
Same worm, usually switch worms too when I switch.
Do you have a drop shot there?
I don't have a drop shot.
Yeah, we don't need to go over that because I know most of you guys know what a drop shot is, but when we're to go along with what we're just saying, I mean, this same worm, you fish it on a shaky head. You can even fish a robo style worm, Nico.
Yes.
And then you have a drop shot. And you want to try all 3 of those. If you're not getting bit, you want to switch. You may not have to switch the worm, but you may have to switch the technique from a drop shot to a shaky head, or it's just something about it.
Yeah, those are both interchangeable. There's times when they want the trick worm or the robo worm on the wacky rig more than the Cinco, or the Cinco on the shaky head more than the trick worm. So you do have to just kind of play around with it. And I always say you're asking the fish questions, and all you're asking is, how do you want to bite it? What color do you want to bite? What profile do you prefer today? And then you just kind of rotate through your options, and once you start narrowing it in, you just stick with it and have a good day on the lake.
Okay, another question I want to ask you, and when I know we have caught fish from 5 to, I'll say, 30 feet deep today. We have been out here on different days where we're catching them from, I'll say, 30 to 70 feet. Do you have a specific, like if you're fishing from, I'll say 5 feet off the bank in 5 feet of water out to 30 feet, 1/4 ounce? Is that what would be your standard head? And then once you get out to deeper water, and I know it depends on wind and everything, do you have like, could you say, give somebody that may not do this a lot, say, you know, when you're fishing 30 feet or less, 1/4 ounce, when you go out to over 30 feet, you know, you might want to go up to a 1/2 ounce. How heavy do you fish this stuff?
I never change the weights.
Okay, that's
so I will fish the same weight in 70. You just have to wait longer for it to get down there. The reason for that is the fish still like the same presentation of kind of a more lifeless deflection. With a jig, you know, I might fish a 1/2 ounce or a 3/4 ounce and get it down there and bang the bottom. But I feel like, and I've been on bites before in deep water where I was getting them on a 1/4 ounce, and then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put this on this big 1/2 ounce weight. I'm going to get down there and I'm going to catch them. And then they stop biting it. So I feel like a lighter weight, even down deep, has a more realistic action.
You are throwing spinning rods, 7 foot medium, I'd say they are medium or medium light.
7.76 medium.
What is that 20, 30 pound
braid?
Usually
20 or less, between 10 and 20. I'll do 10, 15, 20.
And then you have about 15 to 20 feet of fluorocarbon leader.
Yes, 18.
Okay. And that helps also getting that 1/4 ounce down deeper.
Yeah. If you the lighter the line, the quicker the fall. And honestly, when I'm fishing something in 60, 70 foot of water, it doesn't take that long to get it down there.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to be a little more patient.
Yeah, and what else you got over there?
What else? Okay, well, we'll end on that one. Then another, just a bread and butter staple on this lake is a peanut butter and jelly Ned Rig.
Ned Rig, 1/4 ounce.
Yeah, I believe that's a 1/4 ounce. Or
okay.
One of the funny sizes, 5.
Peanut butter and jelly, pretty standard stuff, and it's more technique. And I'll tell you guys, I'm going to give John an opportunity to, you know, give them the information if they want to come up here and fish with you. And then I want to talk a little bit about the importance of going out, you know, especially if you're just getting started, whether you're fishing big baits or whether you're fishing, you know, finesse stuff. How important it is to maybe come out, and I hope you call John, because he has my highest recommendation.
Thank you.
And I know that if you come out, I've sent a lot of guys over to you through the years, and
I appreciate that.
I have never had one person that said, you know, why'd you do that? They're always, hey, thanks, John was great, learned a ton. You will learn a ton, and I have all the confidence in the world that if you come out here and have John or fish with you for a day, you're going to learn a ton, and you're going to figure out that, well, I have this worm, but I don't catch very many fish on it. You're going to learn why you don't, and you're going to learn how to catch fish on these worms, and you're going to take the information and, you know, the knowledge from a day of fishing with John or another good guide, or you know, whatever, for the rest of your life. Yeah,
there's a lot of little tips and tricks, and you know, building a foundation and having something to just kind of work off of is a great thing to have.
And it's confidence.
It's confidence, it's experience, it's time on the water. I mean, there's a certain way to shake the bait and a certain way to drop it and a certain way to feel it that changes your day from being maybe a 10 fish day to a 30, 40 fish day. It's just there's a certain thing and a certain feel that they're looking for, and we've spent hours out here and years doing it and kind of know how to teach what it takes to catch them.
Yeah, and the other thing is you have baits that we don't talk about, and you know, you showed me a few of those baits today, and I would never fish those baits, but I caught some fish on them today, and the one thing that you can't buy is confidence. But you can gain confidence when somebody takes you out and has you catch a few fish on a bait that you said, nah, I wouldn't be fishing that.
Yeah.
So
It's funny how it works. But
yeah. So
it works.
Tell them how they get a hold of you.
Oh, we got one more.
Oh, we got one. Oh, this is. I didn't think that was one of the baits I thought you were going to hold off on.
No, you got to save the best for last. We can let this one out.
All right.
That's an old school. I mean, that's bread and butter. I mean, if there is bread and butter, just a tube, just a brown tube, green pumpkin tube, shad pattern tube. It gets bit. It's
quarter ounce head.
Quarter ounce head. I rig it Texas to where you are, a little weedless. Yeah. You make a little slit in the bait and then push the head in.
Specifically, who makes this bait?
That is a Dry Creek bait.
Dry Creek.
And Dry Creek tubes are awesome.
And they're very affordable.
They're affordable and they're proven. A lot of industry guys, everybody fishes.
And this is a brown flake. Brown purple.
That one they call mud pie.
Mud pie.
It's a brown with purple flake.
That was a good one today.
Man, they're chewing it. We wore them out. We got a couple beat up ones on the deck.
And last but not least, and I think what I learned today is when you fish any of these bottom bouncing baits, you have to fish them aggressively. You can't be afraid to lose them. Now, one thing that we won't talk about, maybe if you guys like to listen to John a little bit, we'll come back out and we'll talk about how to get these baits unhooked from the bottom when they hang up, because there is technique to that. You've got a couple of little bait knockers.
Yep.
You know the technique of how to reposition the boat to pull these things off so you don't lose them all. But when you do fish these things, and like I said, you have to fish them aggressively and you have to be willing to lose a few of them. Don't worry about that. But especially these tubes, these are real. I think for a bag of them, you get them for like $3 or $4, don't you? It's not that expensive. You get like 10 of them.
Yeah, they're affordable.
So you can afford to lose a few of these. Big baits, you don't want to lose too many of those, but you got to go out and fish them aggressively, keep them on the bottom, don't be afraid to hang them up. It took me, an hour or so this morning. I was, I might have got one bite or something until I started hitting you up about what you were doing, and after that it was off to the races. But again, you did give them your information if they want to get a hold of you.
Information, just go to experiencefishing.net. That's my website. I have my email there and my contact information. And Experience Fishing starts with the letter X.
Thanks a lot, John.
Steve, it was a pleasure. We'll do it again.
Yeah, and hopefully if some of these folks want to hear some more about fishing the Mother Lode Lakes, I can hit you up again. We'll come up and do another quick video.
I love it.
All right, thanks a lot,
Awesome,
John.
thank you.
Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck out there, and if you have any questions or comments, hit me up and I can direct you to John if you can't get a hold of him or whatever you need. But like I said, one thing that I will do, we have to do something that somebody comes up here, if they watch this video and you put them onto a 10-pound fish, we're going to do something special. I'll have a bait package for you or something.
There you go. That's a good plan.
And,
I'll set something up too.
All right.
We'll put it together.
Yeah. All right. And oh, by the way, very reasonable rates.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks.